So, hello everyone, welcome to another lab. This is going to be lab number first in our solution AWS security series. So, lab name is using resource based policies to secure an S3 bucket. And in this lab, you will learn how to configure permission by using IAM based, identity based, and resource based policies such as Amazon Simple Storage Service Bucket Policy. You will also learn how IAM policy and resource policy defines access permissions. After completing this lab, you should be able to do the followings. First is recognize how to use IAM identity based policy, and then resource based policy to define fine grained access control to AWS services and resources. Describe how an IAM user can assume an IAM role to gain different access permission to an AWS account. And finally, explain how S3 bucket policies and IAM identity based policy that are assigned to IAM users and roles affect what users can see or modify across different AWS services in the AWS management console. So this is the architect of the lab. We log in as dev user, which is member of developer group. This group is attached to developer group policy. And then IAM user assess Amazon EC2, and EC2 has a test access to these S3 buckets. So lab environment has three pre-configured Amazon S3 bucket 1, 2, 3. The environment also has a pre-configured IAM role, which allows certain buckets and their objects when the role is assumed. You will analyze different policies to better understand how they control your assessment. By the end of this lab, you will have created the architect as shown. So there is a role added to IAM user, dev user. And that is the only change I can notice in these two diagrams. So let's proceed to task 1. So task 1 is assessing the console as an IAM user. It says in third point login as IAM user name tab user. So go to AWS detail, copy the IAM user login URL. For IAM user name is dev user. This is the from the AWS panel. So password is given here. I am inside an public library, so there is a little background noise. Now we are logged in as a tab user. So let me take a screenshot for my assignments as well. Now task 2 is attempting read access level access to AWS services. Now that you are logged into the console as an IAM username tab user, you will explore the level of access that you have to a few AWS services, including Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud EC2, Amazon S3, and IAM. Let's go to EC2, and it says that many API error messages display, and this is expected because we do not have access to all these resources. Next is attempt some action in Amazon EC2 console. Let's go to instance, and in the instance list a message display: you are now not authorized to perform this operation. Yes. Scroll down and choose the key pair name drop-down list. And it again says you are not authorized to perform this operation. Notice that key pair name is a required setting that must be configured if you want to launch an instance. This is just one of many indications that you will not be able to launch an EC2 instance with the permission that have been granted to you as the tab user. So next, let's go to S3. It says 3 buckets are listed. Yes, and the bucket name are unique, but one bucket name contain bucket 1, another bucket 2, and the third contains bucket 3. In the list of bucket, notice that the access column display message. Insufficient permissions to list the access point. So task 3 is analyzing the identity-based policy applied to the IAM user. Now you have observed how the tab user IAM user is unable to access certain information and action in both Amazon S3 console and Amazon EC2 console. In this task, you will look at IAM policy details that apply to tab user to understand why you can't perform this action. So let's go to IAM. On the IAM dashboard, notice that you do not have the permission to view certain parts of the page. Both messages state user this is not authorized to perform. Yes. Let's go to user group and choose developer group. On the user tab, notice that tab user is a member of IAM group. Yes. Choose permissions. notice that IAM policy name developer group policies attached to IAM group. Yes. Review the IAM policy detail. On the lower portion of the page shows plus. And in this policy we have following actions, and effect is allowed. Save the policy to a file on your computer. Copy the JSON format policy to your clipboard. Choose copy. Open a text editor on your local computer. It will be Notepad. And paste. Save the policy document as developer group policy JSON. So save as save. Next task 4 is attempting right level access to AWS services. Any action that you attempt when you interact with an AWS service is an API call. Whether you are using console, AWS command line interface, or AWS software development kits, all attempted API calls are recorded in AWS Cloud Trail event logs. In this task, you will attempt to make 2 API calls that require right level access within Amazon S3. The first action is to create an S3 bucket, and the second action is to upload an object to the bucket. So after you attempt the 2 tasks, you will again analyze the policy attached to IAM group to analyze why you could or could not perform the specific API calls. So let's go to S3. Create bucket. Bucket name is lab 1, 2, 3, 4. For region, for AWS region, choose US East North Virginia. Yes, it is selected. Review the setting and then choose create bucket. I think the name, yes. So let's say no lab 1, 2, 3. You successfully created an S3 bucket. Insufficient permission to apply default encryption. When we go to bucket, we have no lab 1, 2, 3 bucket here, and we will try to upload a file in the bucket. Let's say I want to upload the JSON file. Choose upload, and it says failed. File and Folder tab on the lower part of the page in error column. Choose the Access Denied link. On File and Folder tab on the lower part of the page in error column, choose Access Denied link. And it says you don't have permission to upload files and folders. Next is review the policy details for Amazon S3 access. Return to text editor where you copied this developer group policy.json document. Review the policy detail to understand why you were able to create S3 bucket but couldn't upload an object to it. So it says S3 create bucket, yes, but there is no upload permission in this policy, so that's why we are unable to upload any object to the policy. So task 5 is assuming an IAM role and reviewing a resource-based policy. In this task, you will try to access bucket 1 and bucket 2 while logged in as dev user IAM user. You will also try to access the bucket by using a role that was pre-configured as the part of lab setup. So try to download an object from the bucket that were created during lab setup. Let's go to bucket 1. Select image 2 and then download. And access denied error page appear, yes. Return to Amazon S3 console. Try to download the first image. The same error, yes. So analysis as shown in the following diagram, with the permission that are granted through memberships in the developer group, you were able to create new bucket. However, you cannot access objective. Assume bucket access role IAM role in the console. Last it says from the breadcrumbs in the upper left corner of the page, choose Amazon S3. Yes. Assume the bucket access role. Dev user, then choose switch role. role page appear, choose which role and enter the account ID value from the AWS detail pending all the lab instruction. Role is going to be bucket access role. Next is switch role. Now again go to S3. Go to buckets. Go to bucket 1 and try to download the image. And now we are able to download the image. Analysis. The download was successful, which means that the policy or the policies applied to the bucket access role. Allow S3 get object action on bucket 1. Now next is test IAM access with the bucket access role. Navigate to IAM role. IAM console. Go to user groups. An error message displays you no longer have permission to view IAM user group page because bucket access role does not have the IAM list group action applied to it. So assume the dev user role again, then test access to user group page. Let's go switch back. And now we have developer group here. Next is analyze IAM policy that is associated with the bucket access role. In the left navigation pane shows roles. Search for buckets access role. This policy, list all bucket policy, grants the same. S3 list all my buckets action to every resource. This permission allow you to see all S3 bucket when you assume bucket access role. So choose the arrow to the left of the grant bucket 1 access. So these policies allow action to all buckets and grant bucket 1 access, allow only to bucket 1. And it also, this policy allow S3 get object and S3 list objects and S3 bucket. Notice that this policy does not grant S3 put access. The allowed action are only granted for specific resources bucket 1 is. and all object within bucket 1 indicated by slash star. Yes. Save a copy of grant bucket 1 access policy to your computer. Next is complete your analysis of the bucket access role. Scroll back up the page and choose the Trust Relationship tab. Notice that the tab user, IAM user in this AWS account is listed as trusted entity. Yes. Notice that the account number that appear in the upper right corner also matches the account number in the trusted entity. Yes. Next is assume the bucket access role and try to upload an image to bucket 2. Choose the role, go to bucket 2. Notice that this bucket does not have yet have an image to place. Choose upload, add file, browse to and choose OK and choose upload. After assuming bucket access role, you successfully accessed bucket 1 to download the object and then you uploaded the same object to bucket 2. Next, task 6th, understanding resource-based policies. So observe the detail of the bucket policy that is applied to bucket 2. Section, review the policy that is applied to bucket 2. The policy has 2 statements. One statement. So first statement ID is S3 right. The principal is the bucket access role, IAM role that you assume. This role is allowed to call the action S3 get object and S3 put object on the resource which is bucket 2. The second SID is least bucket. This role is allowed to call the action S3 least bucket on the resource, which is bucket 2. Now challenge task. Your objective for this challenge task is to figure out a way to upload image to file to bucket 3. So it says unassume the bucket access role and then attempt to upload image to file which we downloaded from bucket 1 earlier in this lab to bucket 3. Check whether the bucket policy is associated with bucket S3. No. So maybe that will give you some indication about how to accomplish this task. So we need to assign the bucket policy to S3. Bucket number 3, sorry. It says bucket access role. And now we have bucket policy. Go to object. Yes, bucket policy is viewable, but review the bucket policy details as well. S3 right and least bucket. Did you figure out how to upload the file of second graduation? No, I haven't figure out. But let's submit this lab grade. This lab is completed. Thank you.